Shalom. Many people are familiar with the Freudian idea of the id, the ego, and the superego. I wanted to explain that from a rabbinic perspective. In ancient times, our sages believed in two aspects of the human personality, the yetzer hatov and the yetzer harah. The yetzer hatov means the good inclination, and the yetzer harah means the bad inclination. And roughly speaking, the yetzer hatov would be everything that's kind of spiritual, angelic, and the yetzer harah would be everything that's mammalian and animal about us. But it's not necessarily that the yetzer harah, which roughly is equivalent to the id in Freud's pattern, is a bad thing. In fact, there's a wonderful midrash that states that when God saw the world and saw it was very good, Rabbi Meir says what God saw that was very good was the evil inclination. Why? Because without it, clearly, there would be no progress. That is the source in us that propels us towards procreation and acquisition and progress and development and building. The problem is it can get to be too overwhelmed. That leads to hedonism. And you should see my video on asceticism and hedonism. And if the yetzer harah gets too overwhelming, it can lead to asceticism, to denial of the things that we are permitted. So basically Judaism said that's why we need the Torah, that's why we need the mitzvot, that's why we need halakha, the Jewish law, to balance properly so that we don't get excessive in either direction of the yetzer harah and yetzer hatov. Both are necessary and both can be beautiful. And they're part of what it means to be human. In fact, when the creation story says that let us make man in our image according to our likeness, one contemporary midrash says that with whom is God speaking in the garden? God is speaking to the animals, and so human beings are a composite of animal and godliness. Now, one of the keys in life, though, is where we get into most trouble, is by a failure to heed our yetzer hatov. And I think the key is that we all know we have a yetzer hatov, and when we're going to do something which is excessive and violates the fundamental ideas of God and the Torah, which we all do from time to time, sadly, but that's human nature, the key is to pay close attention to our yetzer hatov, the still small voice in our head saying, don't do it, this is not proper. We tend to ignore it, but this is what should be done. I want to couple this with an editorial that was in the Chicago Tribune today about annual doctor visits. And the point of the essay, the editorial, was that when you have a doctor visit, an annual checkup, the doctor doesn't just check your blood pressure. He asks you questions like, do you smoke? Do you wear a seatbelt? Do you use a bike helmet when you ride your bike? Many questions just to design, to test, to see how we're doing in various aspects of our life. And the point of the Tribune editorial, which I liked very much, was that we should really pay attention to the questions we get and the answers we give. And it's like a Yom Kippur for a Jew on an annual basis, where we're supposed to do a spiritual inventory of our lives. How are we measuring up against the system? So we list all of these sins that we commit or that are committed by people and saying, how are we doing in comparison to that? And so on a regular daily basis of prayer, on a weekly basis of Shabbat prayer, on a yearly basis of the high holidays, we need to constantly assess ourselves by the still small voice. How are we doing? And what are we saying? But we should, every day, in every moment of our lives, aspire to listen to that yetzer hatov to avoid the dangers of yetzer harah. But again, it's not that those things are evil. They are part of what it is to be human, and the Torah gives us opportunities to enjoy. It's just that we need a proper balance.